Welcome to IAG Talks, a place where we break down barriers, share resources, take you behind the scenes, and offer empowerment for people with disabilities and the community that supports them.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to IAG Talks. Today, I am with Corrie Lukkes. I am super excited to be here with her today. I am going to let you know a little bit about her. Corrie Lukkes received her Doctor of Occupational Therapy from Creighton University in Omaha in 2011. She has experience working with children and adults with sensory processing and modulation disorders, autism, genetic disorders, and generalized developmental delays. She has so much experience with early intervention, outpatient pediatrics. She's worked in academia at Lewis University, mentoring occupational therapy students. She initially came to IAG, which she will talk about, in 2022 as an OT student fieldwork supervisor and ended up mentoring students, 18 students at the IAG Bloomingdale site. We are so excited to have her with us today and hear her story. So welcome, Corrie. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Can you let us know, how did your journey start with IAG?
Yeah. So as you said, I was an instructor with Lewis University starting in 2022. And that summer, they needed someone to supervise students at a non-traditional fieldwork site. So for OT, we typically are seen in like clinical settings such as a hospital, outpatient. So IAG was considered a non-traditional site. So I accepted that role. And in June of 2022, I started supervising two level 2 fieldwork students. They were there for 12 weeks. They were essentially full-time there, working with the clients, building up their caseloads, developing goals. They actually did a sensory room grant proposal, and we got that approved. So we did a lot of really cool things between the Bloomingdale and Glendale Heights locations. After those 12 weeks, I got asked to stay on at IAG with additional students. So I spent 2 more semesters having between 4 to 5 students at a time. They were there for about 8 weeks each, and they would again work with the clients, develop goals, strategies, interventions, things like that. And then when that concluded and I wasn't going to have students again, I kind of joked and said, "Hey, would you like me to come work?" And they said yes. So in May of last year, I actually started on as a staff member, working between the Bloomingdale, Glendale Heights locations, and then I also support those over at Village in their in-house program, and then the program with the individuals on ventilators upstairs. So I kind of go all over.
Wow, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
And I love how, like you mentioned, OT, a lot of people might think of clinical settings like hospitals. When you first came to IAG, since it was a unique experience, what inspired you to want to stay and even work with people with disabilities?
Yeah. I'm in general, like I have a huge passion for working with individuals with disabilities. That's just kind of been my clinical focus since I went down this track with OT. I was definitely very nervous having had such a big pediatric experience clinically up until this point. I hadn't worked with a lot of individuals for quite some time that were older, so it was a little bit intimidating at first, but quickly fell in love with all of the participants that were over at the Bloomingdale location. They honestly, they're kind of like my family when I kind of think about it. So I quickly felt really comfortable and got really passionate about supporting these people because there's so much that we could do to help get them involved in doing more things and really expanding on those things that they could do. And I was able to kind of bring in my OT knowledge and passion for how do we help support these people to do new things, different things. Sometimes I like to think of myself as the ODA person, where I'm not necessarily telling you something that you don't know or you wouldn't know. I'm just telling it to you in a different way. And oftentimes people are like, "Oh, well, duh, that makes sense." So I'm kind of that like reminder of like, here's these things that we could try. And I'm able to, again, bring in that clinical background that I have and just bring it to the IAG site. So it kind of just happened naturally. And now when I go to work, everyone knows me, they greet me, they're, rolling over to me, asking to do, gosh, everything, stretches, cooking, activities, games, everything. I can't walk in there without being asked to do something. So it's really fun. It's a really nice change of pace for me from like a full clinical setting working with these individuals.
Yeah, that's awesome. When you talked about like your OT knowledge,
Mhm.
can you just explain what OT covers?
Yeah. Oh,
Just
yeah. Great.
from a
Yeah.
general consensus?
Yeah, great question. So occupational therapy, we consider ourselves holistic providers. So that means that we treat the whole person, body, brain, everything. So we can work anything from someone who is in a hospital who might have had a stroke, and maybe we're helping with rehabilitation from that to get back to what we call their daily occupations. Daily occupations are those daily activities that someone does to be able to complete anything in their environment. There's a lot of clinical terms. We talk about activities of daily living, IADLs, and we talk about instrumental activities of daily living. So there's all these different things. So someone might think of us in a hospital. Someone might think oftentimes of like in pediatrics, they'll think of us working on handwriting. Sometimes people say you're the fine motor person, and we do work a lot on fine motor, but we do a lot more beyond that. We also work on things like being able to access the community, working on being able to do money management, working on being able to figure out how to get from point A to point B using cognitive strategies. My specialty has been working on sensory processing, which has been really, really helpful coming into the IAG setting because I've been able to help support and educate the staff members on what are those signs that one of the clients might be showing signs of dysregulation, and then what can we do to help support their regulation so that they are getting the most meaningful experience out of their time at IAG. So that's a big part of what I do, is trying to help support staff in that way.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what are some of the creative ways that you use OT over at IAG?
So my favorite one is that we started a cooking club. We
Corey, can
call
you
it the
stop
Red
really
Hot
quick?
Chili Preppers. Oh,
I'm going to ask
yep.
you that question again.
Okay.
Because you
Did it
keep
free?
freezing.
Huh?
You keep freezing.
Oh, okay.
And it's
Yeah.
so exciting that I want to make sure that we get this.
No worries.
Okay. What are some of the creative ways that you use OT over at IAG?
So my favorite creative thing that we've come up with is starting our cooking club over at the Bloomingdale location, and I'm hoping to kind of spread it over to Glendale Heights as well. So we call ourselves the Red Hot Chili Preppers. And my goal is to help educate the clients on food, health, nutrition, giving access to healthy and fresh fruits, vegetables, things like that. Educate them on some simple strategies for cooking, and then also provide modifications to get them involved in the cooking process versus us just doing something for them. So things like switch activated devices, food choppers, things like that. I have a modified knife so that they can help me with cutting. I have cutting boards that are specifically developed for one-handed cutting so someone could do it themselves versus me having to be right there and do it with them. So my goal is really to provide that education, but also to provide that opportunity for them to really develop that self-efficacy and that really great self-confidence in themselves of, hey, everyone, look what I made. And they love it. They walk around and they're like, look what we made. We made spaghetti today. We made stir fry. We made grilled chicken with Tuscan sauce. And so they really enjoy it. And I get asked a lot to do lots of cooking. So we've done a lot of that. And then I will also just bring in like creative things like I love using my Cricut. So I'll bring in, items that I cut with my Cricut, and we can make bags. We can create anything. I will make anything with anything.
That is so cool.
It really just kind of depends on what someone is interested in, and I will really work with the clients on finding out those interests and then figuring out how can I get them to participate with that interest as much as possible.
That is so unique and so cool. And I love that not that you've created, but you've found ways to modify things so that people are able. I think that generally people get written off sometimes, as well as
Mhm.
you're just not able. You have, a deficit here that's not going to allow you to, but you're going out of your way to try to figure out ways that they still can. And having that kind of power and agency within yourself is definitely, it shows a different level of confidence. And that's really
Absolutely.
telling when they're walking around really excited to show everybody what they're making and proud of themselves. And
Yep.
that's really beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the confidence that I've noticed, like the changes in some of the clients when I work with them has been huge over the last 2 years. So absolutely that self-confidence is so key. And like you said, this population is so used to someone doing for them. And, there's times where there's a time constraint and someone just needs to do something for you. Or there's something else going on. But really, my goal is to slow it down. We're not in a hurry. We can take our time, and really giving someone that opportunity where I'm not putting that time burden on them, and I'm giving them the tools that they need to be successful independently, or as independently as possible. That's my goal, to try to be as hands off as humanly possible while also supporting them, which is, I think, really key, is to kind of just slow it down and let people take their time.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So with your time that you've been here in the last couple of years, like what do you love most about working at IAG?
So for me, being in a different setting than I would have been in any other clinical setting is just really, really nice, because I've been able to explore these other areas that I couldn't have done otherwise. I don't do, in my outpatient pediatric practice, I don't do a lot of cooking. I don't do a lot of communication devices, modifications, switches, that kind of thing. And I've been able to bring that into this setting and educate both the participants and the staff on their use. So it's this different area of OT that I haven't been able to access for quite some time. And it's been really fun to bring that out and share that with the clients, and then be really receptive and excited about it. That's probably my favorite part. And then we got a wheelchair swing, and the laughter you can get from some of the clients when you put them on this wheelchair swing is like your heart will just sing when you hear it. They get so excited, and I show up and they're like, "Can we go on this swing today?" And I'm like, "After lunch, we can do the swing." And I get them on there, and it's such a different experience for them. But we were able, through, this OT program, we were able to bring that equipment into the site, and then now we're providing these new sensory experiences with movement with individuals who otherwise wouldn't be able to have it. So that's the swing is probably one of my favorite things to do. Yeah.
That sounds like so much fun. Who would you say is a good candidate for OT, whether they are in the disabled population or not? Like, what are some things that maybe a parent, a caregiver, um, a Q, whomever can look at and say, oh, I think that maybe they could benefit?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that I want individuals to know about OT is that we are here to support with that sensory modulation and emotional regulation piece. And to be honest, I think anyone across the age range could benefit from that. Whether it be young kids, which I work with. I have, 2-year-olds, and we're working on that, up to, working with these adults at IAG. I have really helped to develop those strategies of, hey, if this person is crying? Can we look at what happened before that happened? What are some of those maybe environmental factors? Maybe we need to look at the sound level in the room. Maybe we need to look at the lights. Maybe there's something internal going on, and maybe they're, you know, they're telling us that they're in pain or something like that. Or, and then what can we do from helping to support those cues to help them to essentially feel their best in their body and in their environment. And then, that emotional piece as well. I think a lot of people that I work with, both kids and adults, have difficulty with that, like frustration tolerance and not having like an outburst, not getting really angry, throwing, hitting, that kind of thing. Again, what can we do from a clinical sense of helping to determine what are those triggers, help to support creating those strategies that someone can use as, again, independently as possible to assist with that, managing that big emotion. Because for us, like, it's okay to have big emotions, but we really want to be careful about what we do with our emotions. So my goal is to help support people with that. So everyone could benefit from that social emotional support. It's hard for me to differentiate social emotional from the sensory because they really kind of go hand in hand. So again, what can we do from a sensory standpoint? How do we make a sensory rich environment for our clients to give them all these unique opportunities for learning about themselves and their environment? So the answer is everyone. Everyone can benefit from OT, but really, if you're having a client or, your own child, if they're really struggling with getting really upset, if there's any sort of like delays in development, things like that, absolutely, send them over for an OT eval. My general rule is I'd rather you send someone to me and I, evaluate them or look at them and I'm like, hey, they don't need my support, versus someone wondering like, could there be someone out there that could help support me with whatever it is that we're working on?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. You shared so much. I am so excited to go see the Red Hat Chili Peppers and all the amazing work that you're
Come see us.
doing.
We're in Bloomingdale usually on Fridays.
Yes, I'm totally going to come and enjoy some of the food with you guys. I look forward to speaking with you again, and thank you so much for all you're doing. You're doing amazing work.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course.